Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hope Without Sight with your host, Sailor Cooper, and
This is Tyler Evans.
we're on episode 19, I believe, on the Puerto Vallarta trip. Oh, it feels so good now. Just got out of a massage, thanks to a wonderful masseuse who's been giving us all massages. I feel great. But now to my right, I have the owner of a wonderful Casa de Influencia. Thank you so much for your hospitality this week. She's here to share her story of overcoming life's challenges. This is Julianne. Julianne, how you doing?
I am doing fabulous. Oh my God, I have had so much fun having all you guys here this week doing podcasts. And yeah, I've been really enjoying myself, having so much company here and getting to know everybody.
That's awesome. So glad that you've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun being at your place too. It's a beautiful place. Your staff has been incredible. Let me tell you, I'll give them a pretty good tip before I leave.
They're going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, and as a courtesy, you know what? I will want you to come down to Cancun and stay at our family place down there.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Yeah, because you've done so well. So, yeah. So here, without further ado, let's get started. So this is Help Without Sight. I've heard you've overcome a lot of challenges in life, so that's why I want to have you on here. So let's get going. So
yes,
let's take me from the beginning.
Yeah, I have had an interesting life, and I've had my share of obstacles that I've had to overcome. First of all, I guess it started when I was 17 years old, and I was diagnosed with scoliosis. And in England at the time, the way that they dealt with that is that they would break your back. So I was rushed into hospital, and they basically smashed every vertebrae of my back to then straighten it, make it as straight as possible. They then put a steel rod in my back and then kind of put me back together and put me into a full body cast for 6 months.
Wow.
So yeah, I went through kind of after I'd learned how to walk again, I then had, 2 years at college, either with a body cast or with various different types of support before I was able to just, function normally.
So you had a body cast on just your leg or on your back?
My whole back. So
oh my goodness.
I went from the whole body cast went from like up to my shoulders right down to my hips.
Wow.
So it kind of looked a bit like a big vest.
Wow. So what is scoliosis exactly?
So it's a curvature of the spine. So as you grow, instead of your spine growing straight, it starts to grow to one side or the other side. So my spine was growing to the right side. And so if they hadn't have, tried to correct it, I would be a hunchback by now.
You being in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Wow. And by the grace of God, you're walking, and not only you're walking, you're running this amazing place, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I still have chronic pain every day, but I've just learned to live with that and manage it. And I feel like the more that you believe anything's possible, then anything really is possible. And as you know, we're in a building with 5 flights of stairs, so I'm pretty fit now.
Yeah, I think we all are. We are after being on this trip. And, people have called me a champ because me being blind, I know this place very well by now. I know. When I first got here, I was walking up with a cane. Now I'm on my own,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, some of the things we've done together, I have been so amazed watching you. We went on a boat trip, and you were just happily like climbing onto the boat, climbing off the boat into a big dinghy. to get to the beach and jumping off the boat to go snorkeling and then jumping off the boat to go on the beach. It's like everywhere that we've been, you've just been like, there's nothing has stopped you at all.
Yeah, in that water snorkeling, it was murky and cold.
Yes, it was cold.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, but the beach was much better because you see, I also live in Cancun too, and the beach here, it's not the same. The sand is like more thick, and it's more like a darker color, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've been on two different beaches. So when you went on the first beach, that was more a sort of darker beach, but the beach we were on yesterday after the boat ride was more of a fine kind of white sand beach, but you were really enjoying being in the surf.
Yes, because of course I grew up on the ocean, you know.
And the other thing we did together is salsa dance. So
Oh,
amazing.
I got a little tipsy, didn't I?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I was happy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was very happy, and we were actually salsa dancing together. So you were doing an amazing job.
Yes, it's been a fun trip, and but I look forward to many, many, many more. And you know, Tyler, we should host a trip of our own somewhere, maybe at my place down in Mexico. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, let's go back to your story. So after you have the operations, what challenges lie ahead then?
Well, I think I've kind of gone through life not letting it stop me. So I I went sailing around the world. So that was kind of interesting because I left England and got onto a boat, and then I spent 4 years in Africa and in Asia living on a boat.
Wow.
But not letting any of my pain or my back problems stop me from doing anything. And then when eventually I got to Canada after like 4 years in Africa and Asia, and I wrote my book, my story, and then I started my publishing company. And about 4 years into my publishing company, where things were starting to get really successful and good, I discovered that I was dyslexic. And I discovered this through somebody who I was working with from Dyslexia Canada. And she was watching me do some mind mapping, how I help people to write books. And she looked at me and said, "Julie, do you realize you're dyslexic?" And I said, "Sue, I don't think that can be right. That can't be true. And imagine how bad it would be for business if I told everybody I was a dyslexic book publisher."
So you were dyslexic when you didn't even know it, because a lot of times people can be dyslexic. People can have something that they've had all their life. They just never known it. Like I've heard in certain instances of autism.
Yes.
You know, I had one person on the podcast who was on the autism spectrum. He just didn't know it until he was like in his late 40s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think what happens is you actually adapt. I mean, I think that's what happens with anything that's, we're functioning in a different way. So I think, I've always had to adapt the way I, particularly read, write, and for me, numbers and analytical things. And I never realized when I was at school, I never kind of thought, well, I don't know why I'm so much slower than everybody else. All my friends could get A's and B's, and I was struggling to get D's and E's. And I never knew why. I was just that, oh, maybe I'm stupid, or, there's something different about me. So I think as I went through life, I just found different ways to adapt. And, for reading particularly, I read very slow.
Wow.
But I figured that as a book publisher, that's probably a good thing to do because I take my time. I don't actually, kind of skip over pages or speed read like a lot of people do. I actually spend a lot of time on every word, every sentence, every page, the stories. So I look at that as an advantage rather than disadvantage. And I certainly know from when I was operating my publishing company in Vancouver, I would read some of the emails that my staff was sending out. And I would say, oh my God, there's like 3 spelling mistakes in this email. You can't do that representing a book publisher. And it's because they work so fast, and so many people do work fast. They kind of like make mistakes and don't check their work. But for me, I've always done that. It's a matter of course that I write an email and then I check my email, then I check it again before I press send. So I think, it means I've adapted without even realizing that's how I live my life. I just always checked everything. I always was slow at things, but I never let that stop me. I just decided that was me being more accurate than maybe other people were.
Wow. Now, were you officially diagnosed with dyslexia, or did you diagnose yourself?
Well, Sue, she ran Dyslexia Canada. So it was her that she gave me a little mind's eye test that she uses on people. But the telltale sign was that she told me dyslexia runs in families. So she asked me if my mom and dad or anybody in my family was dyslexic, and I said no. And she said, well, I think you should maybe check, what can you ring your parents and ask them? So I called my mom, and she said, oh my God, your dad has kept that a secret his whole life. When I married him, he couldn't read or write. And but he didn't want you as children to know that he had
Wow.
dyslexia. And so he kept it as a secret. And then I spoke to my dad, and he told me how he'd been struggling through life because he was really badly bullied in school because they didn't know then what dyslexia was. And so he had to wear a dunce hat and stand in the corner. The teachers would call him lazy and,
Oh,
hang his hand. So, he had a really tough life, and he didn't want us children to have that same experience. And so he thought it was better just to keep us, in the blind and never tell us that dyslexia was in the family.
and so it's genetic then. Now, does dyslexia, does it just have to deal with reading and writing, or is it spatial concepts overall?
Well, actually, it's not a disability. And if it is a disability, I call it a teaching disability as opposed to a learning disability. I actually did a TED talk on the topic called The Gift of Dyslexia. And, just like anything that's out of the ordinary or not quite, normal, if you like, there's always a different way to look at that. And dyslexia is your mind works a different way. So
Yeah.
we have got big right hand creative brains, but our left brains, it's kind of a bit like the autistic spectrum, actually. The left brain is smaller than the right brain. And so we tend to struggle with the kind of analytical type of things. But the right brain is so big and creative. What actually happens is we think in pictures, and we actually think a lot faster than we can process.
Oh,
Right. So in other words, if you're writing or you're typing, you fall over your words because you're actually thinking faster than your
Mm.
fingers can type.
so it's a
you can write.
neurological condition then.
Yeah, I would say so. But I think, some of the most brilliant minds, like Albert Einstein, was dyslexic. He couldn't read or write until he was 9 years old. And Steve Jobs was dyslexic.
Wow.
Most of the Richard Branson is dyslexic.
So there's gifts with dyslexia too.
There's a lot of gifts with dyslexia because it's mostly to do with problem solving. So basically, you look at any situation and you're able to find different solutions for it outside of the box. So that's why when you think about some of those entrepreneurs, they're very creative and innovative. So people like Steve Jobs and Albert Einstein, we don't look at things the same way as anybody else looks at things.
So they're not dyslexic people are not like so analytical. They just get down to it.
Yes. And we
And-
don't let anything stop us. So, I mean, this place is a good example. You know, this is not what you would consider to be a traditional retreat center, right? A traditional retreat center is a, you know, a villa on the beach or a villa in the jungle. You know, it's got a bunch of bedrooms and some kind of space where you can meet. This is a 10 apartment building on 5 floors. So you wouldn't immediately come into this building and go, oh, look, there's my retreat center. But because I look at things with a lot of creativity and imagination, I walk into the building and immediately I'm like, oh, wow, look at that apartment. It could become podcast studios.
Yeah.
And that space can be a co-work space, etc. And the event space on the rooftop, that's going to be great for conferences. This room, if I take down this window, I can put a 4-meter boardroom table there. So it's like we look outside of the box and we look outside the normal. And so therefore we're able to creatively look at ways to do things. And there's no such thing as I can't.
Right. And so I see what it is. You think outside the box, you just don't analyze in detail. And also when it comes to reading and writing, that's where you have difficulties there. You have what's called these reversal letters, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't always process that way. It's just that you're really falling over letters and you sometimes fall over numbers as well, because you're processing, your mind's processing is going to the end result really fast. So if you're like brainstorming, for example, with a dyslexic person or somebody on the autistic spectrum, you can move through ideas really, really fast and get to the end goal really, really fast. Whereas if I'm masterminding with somebody who's not dyslexic or not on the spectrum, they'll be like, I don't understand you. What are you saying? Well, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because they can't process as fast as you can. So it's like you can move through ideas really, really fast because you're both processing at a high speed of creativity, as opposed to analytical people hold back because they're like, well, hang on a minute, let me just do the figures of that, or hang on a minute, let me just figure out why you can't do this for this reason or that reason. So they actually slow things down because they have to slow it down to make everything logical and they have to analyze everything. Whereas if you have all this creativity, you just like run ahead at full speed. Right? Because it's like you can create anything. Like we are creators.
Yes.
But who we are, we're creators. So, people that are have this kind of gift, I say, are the people that are going to change the world because, we're able to think outside the box and bring innovation that people who are analytical, they can't think like that. They can't. Many people I showed this building before I started to turn it into a retreat center, they just don't even understand my concept. They're like, it's an apartment building. How can you turn an apartment building into a retreat center?
Wow. You're very smart, Julianne. Yeah, you're very smart, Yeah, and so, wow. So how long ago was it when you found out you were dyslexic? Like 10 years ago?
Yeah, it would have been about 10 years.
Wow.
Well, probably not even that, actually. I did my TED Talk in 2014. So I did my TED Talk not long after I was diagnosed, so maybe like 6 months. So probably around 2013. And I did my TED Talk in 2014. And that's now had over 100,000 hits.
Wow. And of course, when you were diagnosed, you didn't feel ashamed or anything because that's the message we need to get out to people, right, Tyler? A diagnosis
Exactly.
doesn't mean it's the end. It's about understanding yourself and your framework, right?
Absolutely. I actually feel that disabilities aren't really like they may be inconvenient in some way, but they're really special.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like autism, there are people who are autistic, you wouldn't even know it. We were talking to someone what was it, yesterday or the day before, whatever it
No,
was,
I think it was
or
Saturday.
this weekend.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, the Saturday, yeah. And he was autistic, and you wouldn't know it by talking to him at all.
No, you would know it. Some people you can tell, but
Yeah, some you can, others you can't. I honestly think that, you know, I think autism, like for those who are like that are really, really high spectrum, why should they even be diagnosed as autistic? I mean, it's high functioning, it's like high, like everything, where you wouldn't know it by actually interacting with them or anything.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. But everyone else, I think the autism should remain. But like I said,
yeah,
I'm not the doctors, the psychiatrists, whatever. They do their job, but
yeah.
maybe it's
So
something to reassess in the future. To rethink what is really autism, because if it's high functioning and everyone is normal and they live a normal life even without medicine, then maybe it's just not autism. Maybe it's more or less kind of like ADHD, where we sometimes just need some feedback. Once we get it, boom, we're able to just thrive.
yeah,
I think it's
But who
just
knows? I don't
all
know.
about just functioning in the world in a different way, and actually
Yeah.
understanding what your gifts are.
I can. Yes, agreeable. Totally.
Right.
You gotta
Exactly.
truly know yourself well and understand what your gifts are. I mean, you may have weaknesses, but you have strengths.
Well, I think
Exactly.
if you understand that, you can then just you can adapt the way you need to. So, like, I got my operations manager in my business. I just call her my left brain because she does all the left brain stuff that I struggle with. That allows me to really be as creative as I have the capacity to be creative, and I have a huge capacity to be creative.
Remind
Awesome.
me. I learned this in psychology. Your left brain is decision making, or your right brain is.
It's not so much about decision making, it's, I guess, the decision making process.
Yeah.
So the left brain is more analytical.
Analytical,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So you tend to like just really want to analyze everything and to, like make it logical. Whereas the right brain is more about creativity. And if you don't have the logical brain getting in the way, there's nothing to stop you because you can say, well, why can't I do that?
Exactly.
Right. I actually learned in psychology it's the left hemisphere and right hemisphere. Actually, the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body, and the right hemisphere controls the left side.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very interesting. That's why a lot of people who suffer, say, strokes on the left side, it affects the right side. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And also there's the frontal lobe, the occipital lobe, the parietal lobe, and all these, these different lobes that I learned in psychology, particularly on the central nervous system chapter and the neurons chapter. Yeah, it was pretty complex, but yeah. So yeah, I was gonna ask Julianne, were you born and raised in Canada?
No, in England.
In England, yeah. You sound like you have an English accent. Yeah,
I do.
cool. Awesome.
You still have it after how long has it been since you have lived in England full time?
Oh my goodness. It's been, well, it was 2000. So what's that? 22 years, 23 years, 24 years.
Yeah, right. 22 years. Yeah. So.
Yeah, 22. But yeah, so you currently live in Puerto Vallarta?
I live in Puerto Vallarta, yes, in Mexico. I've been here for 4 years. And I was actually the fiance of a Mexican salsa teacher. And I started to learn to salsa dance. I never thought I could salsa dance because of my back. And he taught me that, yes, indeed, I can salsa dance. And I think I got stronger and stronger as I learned to dance. And when I first started dancing, I could probably only dance for maybe one song, two songs. Then I just started to increase that slightly. And then I discovered that, after 2 years, I could dance for 3 hours solid. So I just, got stronger and stronger, and just really enjoyed dancing for the sake of dancing. And but unfortunately, he died of COVID last August.
Oh no.
And that was one of
Boy.
my biggest obstacles I've ever overcome, because he was the love of my life. And this dream of the retreat center was our dream, because we were going to, I was going to be doing writing and publishing retreats, and he was going to be doing salsa dancing retreats. So this was our dream, to create this and co-create it together. And so when he passed away last August, I spent, quite a few months in very heavy grief. And then I found a way that we could continue working together
Yeah.
with him on the other side. And now I feel like we have co-created this retreat center.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be some good that comes out of it, but I'm angry at COVID. It's destructive and damaging. How many people it's damaged around the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm angry. I'm not. I mean, I am angry at what COVID is doing, but I'm mostly angry at what China did.
Yeah.
To
They
cover up
totally
the lab leak. There was a lab leak. Boom. They didn't notify the world in time. Boom. It happened. The pandemic happened. So yeah,
Yeah.
mhm.
I'm
But I'm
angry
glad,
at that.
but I'm glad it's finally ending and we're here.
Yep. Yep. Well, it seems as though the variants now are getting less and less destructive. I mean, yes, people are still getting sick to a point, but it's getting less and less destructive compared to Delta. Delta was the worst last year. And then it was original. But then Omicron, the first one, and then the second Omicron. And it slowly and slowly, it's getting less and less destructive, which is a good thing. There are still people dying, of course, but yeah.
Yeah.
But we're getting through it.
Yeah, we are.
And it's really remarkable that you've overcome all these obstacles, Julianne, that you, despite your scoliosis, you managed to rise to the top, kind of like me and Sailor are hoping to do in the future.
Yeah, and that's why we're here, right? That record a lot
Exactly.
of stuff, and I'm meeting with Michelle and Braden and Kevin and Scott Irwin tomorrow on Zoom. We're gonna catch up on this business plan. And it's gonna be
Well, I think Kevin that said he couldn't make it?
no Blake.
Blake, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Kevin.
So, but isn't Kimberly Crow fabulous?
Oh yeah, she
So many
is.
people here that are fabulous. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
I call this the House of Influence. So Casa de Influencia is the Spanish for House of Influence. And the whole idea is that we're gathering people that are influencers and help other people to see the world in a different place and a different way, right?
And I'm one of them.
Exactly. And you're one of them, because
Absolutely.
that's what we need. We need people to share their stories and to say, look, like just because you've got some label of some description, whether it's dyslexia or autism, or it's a physical disability, or it's that you've overcome obstacles of death or
Yeah.
disease, we can overcome anything.
Yes, we
It just
can.
makes us stronger.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
It
right.
sure does.
You got it.
You got it. And so,
Well,
what's your book called again? Is it out yet?
My first book that I published was called Around the World in 7 Years, A Life-Changing Journey. And that was my story of leaving England and traveling around the world. And since then, I've done a lot of collaborative books. So now I'm focusing on helping people to share their stories with multiple authors in one book. So, for example, I'm doing a collaborative book with Michelle. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. You don't know about that yet,
Oh.
but we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, about doing a book about how podcasting has changed your life. And so,
Oh, you light me up, because Tyler, say this to Julianne what we're doing.
So we're basically, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire other people who've overcome challenges in life, whether it be big, whether it be large or small.
And we're gonna
That's how we do it.
That's awesome.
and what
And
and
ultimately,
what are we doing? Are we writing a book? Say it.
we're also writing a memoir too. It's been a long time since we've worked on it. It certainly
Yeah.
has for me. But he and I are writing it together. Now, I kind of write my stuff, but he also writes his as well.
And we're gonna combine it all. Yeah. So
And
Yeah,
you
we are.
even have featured some other people that have overcome challenges that you've had on your podcast.
Oh, we
yeah,
certainly can.
maybe you could be in there too. Yeah.
Absolutely, Julianne. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just amazing how you come from just this diverse background. Like, you know, you're from London, and then now you look at you, or England. Well, it might have been London. I don't know. But now you're in Mexico,
Yes.
which is not far from America. And who knows, maybe one day you might just decide to move to America. I don't know. Like the
I
US.
don't
Well,
think
technically
so.
you
I've
are in
lived
America.
in many countries in the world, but Mexico is my favorite. The people here are amazing. Puerto Vallarta is very warm and friendly. Climate is beautiful. We have the mountains and the ocean. And I'm in love with Puerto Vallarta. I feel like that this is my home.
Wow. And
Well, you know, my favorite food of all is Mexican,
Yes.
and I'm not even Mexican.
Yeah.
And my favorite food
yeah.
of all are burritos. Burritos are my favorite.
You like burritos.
Well,
But anyhow,
we've had the pleasure of cooking for everybody here. So I've got
awesome.
my own Mexican family.
Yeah.
They're my Mexican sisters, and Susie and Rachel.
They're great. Yeah.
And Marta,
Good.
3 sisters. They've been cooking our meals every day.
Yes.
We've been getting to taste the real, authentic Mexican food.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty special, right?
Yeah. Isn't Tyler missing a good trip?
Oh my
'Cause
God, Tyler.
Yes.
I tried to talk him into coming with me, but he said no.
You don't know what you've missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. I had other plans, so.
So,
Alrighty.
so do you have anything else to share about your life journey? But if not, otherwise, you know, Tyler, of course, you can ask her questions, and of course, we'll do our customary wrap up. So, you got the floor.
Okay. No, I think I just want to let people know that, you know, you can do anything in your life. You can overcome any obstacles. You can overcome any disabilities or any labels. I think all you have to do is just believe in yourself and believe that anything is possible. And just believe in the magic and believe in your dreams, and you can do it.
That's right.
That's
Well
right.
said, Julianne. I agree. Yeah, and don't let the labels define you, which is good.
Don't let the labels define you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because me and
That's
Tyler were
right.
best buds, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
And
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
we met 8 years ago in college, and we're like brothers from another mother, and we say the same things almost
Almost the same things. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, we wanted to ask
Our customary ending.
if there's anything that you can share with those who may feel down tonight, or today rather, what do you think it'd be like if they feel like discouraged?
I think just know that you are a very special person, that you have gifts, and you know what your gifts are. Some people are in denial of their gifts because maybe they're a little bit outside of the box. But if you just think about the thing that you love to do, the thing that lights you up, thing that gives you a big smile on your face, that's your gift. And you just need to embrace your gift and follow your dreams, and you will do what you're supposed to be doing in this world. And it might not be the normal course of action or the normal path might be that you're an artist or a poet or a writer or a musician or a dancer or a podcast host.
Yeah.
It's probably outside the box. So all you have to do is embrace that and embrace your gift and just follow your dreams.
Well, I can tell you one.
Exactly. Yeah, that is well said. And I want to add to that. You know how Tyler, when people are different and they have certain traits that are like quirky, others may not understand. Others have to be more compassionate and understanding. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You need to
Yep.
be more compassionate and to look at people for who they are, not what they look like, or
Yeah.
how much money they have, or what they're wearing. It's like one of the reasons I love Puerto Vallarta is because it's a very accepting place. You can walk down the street and you can see, a 6 foot diva wearing a pink miniskirt with a beard and mustache, and nobody's going to even turn their head and think that that's weird or unusual.
Wow.
It's like, everybody accepts everybody here, and it's a very free place from that perspective because there's not any judgment. There's no judgment of disabilities. There's no judgment of
Oh,
anyway, color, sex, preferences.
No.
There's just no judgment.
you've been to
Good.
Cancun before, right? Cancun?
Yeah, I've been to Cancun.
Would you say Cancun's the same as here in that way, or not quite?
I don't think so, because I think Puerto Vallarta is pretty special. It's kind of known as the gay capital of the world, and I think that as a sort of foundation has made people more accepting and with less judgment and more compassion. And so I think that as a basis means that anybody else that's here, that's outside the box, is also completely accepted without any judgment. And I don't honestly know any other place in the world like that. I really
Wow.
don't.
Wow. So Cancun is like, I guess it's less accepting, right? Or
I just think Cancun is probably a little bit more westernized,
yeah, more
more
partying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is more family orientated. So there's a lot more love here and a lot more compassion because family's number one. And that's not those kind of standards go through to everything. So I mean, I remember with my fiance, I got ill, and I woke up in the morning and I was feeling very sick, and I said, "Oh no, you've got to go to work." And he just looked at me and said, "That's ridiculous. Of course I'm not going to work. You're ill. I'm going to stay here and look after you." And he didn't end up going to work for a week. And it was completely acceptable that his priority would be with his family, not his work. Whereas in a Western culture, that's not the case. If you said, "Oh, I can't come to work because my wife's sick or my mom's sick or my child's sick," your workplace just says, "Well, get here. Your work is more important."
Or else you're fired.
Exactly.
Because in
Right.
corporate America, that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
companies, especially in the U.S., like they do have sick leave. They have what's called FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act and stuff. But if it was a sudden emergency, not so much.
Yeah.
Well,
Way of
you
being
know,
life, I think, and that's how it comes through to no judgment and more freedom, is because there's more love and there's more compassion.
Yeah.
right.
So
So,
what were you gonna say?
you were saying earlier about embrace what makes you smile. Well, I can tell you what really made me smile was my mom. Whenever she was around, when she was alive,
Beautiful.
she just, I can't stop bragging about her. Just, I can't.
Because yesterday, actually 2 years ago, she passed away.
Yeah, she did. She had a long battle with breast cancer and a long battle with pneumonia. But you know what? She's with Christ now because she believed in what he did on the cross. Dad rose again. That was a big thing for her. And she literally just changed my life forever.
Yeah.
The fact that she fought for me as a baby, she fought for me as a kid, and then ultimately, whenever I became an adult, she fought for herself to fight cancer, to fight breast cancer, and she was still there for me. It was just amazing.
And she's
So that's what
looking
makes me
down
smile.
from heaven on you right now.
Yes,
Big smile
she
on her
Yeah.
face.
Well, me and my friend Sailor, we're about to do a show on her soon.
Yes,
We're
we
gonna do
are.
a
As
show.
soon as I get back, honestly, I know a couple of other people. Not everybody's leaving tomorrow. I know Candy and I think Kimberly Day and
Alicia.
they're staying. We're doing my massage. I've been thinking about maybe changing my flight another day and staying at least through Wednesday.
Yay!
I mean, how much would, because who's all staying here tomorrow night, Who's all?
I think Alicia is still here. I think Candy's gonna stay somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be lovely for you to stay a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought about it because this is wonderful. I mean, I would have to be back home Wednesday for sure for Thanksgiving if I do. So it's just a thought,
I mean, I
They
personally
say that's
wouldn't
about
worry
Puerto
about it.
Vallarta, that once you come here, you can never leave. It's a bit like the Hotel California.
Yeah, Hotel California. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I personally would just go ahead and leave tomorrow just because you've already planned, you've already made the reservation, and then next time, make sure to just do it
maybe.
longer.
Yeah,
That's what I would think.
that's
I
right.
know it's
Well,
like me. Whenever I
come back
came and saw
together.
you, when I came and saw you in October, I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
I literally did
Oh.
not want to leave after stepping back there. And I've already, I think, Potapalooza's coming up. Speaking of which, maybe you should join us on Potapalooza in January.
Yeah, I'll send you an
Julianne.
affiliate link. You should join us, Julianne. Kimberly Crow.
Potapalooza every time. I've done 4 Potapaloozas.
Maybe you were there in October. Maybe I just didn't know
You
it. I
were.
just didn't
Sweet.
know you. But
Yes, I was there.
But it was so good to meet you here. And again, Julianne, thank you so much for the hospitality here this week. It's been incredible. I mean, the only suggestion I have is that hopefully on the rooftop, I know y'all talking about it. Maybe y'all can put a hot tub up there.
I am.
You are?
I'm planning to put a hot tub up there.
Oh, good.
It's the next thing on the list, actually.
Yeah.
The only reason I've not done it yet is because we have to have an architect come and check out the structural beams for the weights of the hot tub.
So, will you buy it or just have it built?
Well, I think I'm going to get one built because I was speaking to somebody. I was going to go buy a plastic one from Costco.
Yeah.
And I showed it to this guy, and he said, "Oh no, I can build you a wooden one. It's going to be so much more beautiful." I was like, "Okay, dokie."
I'm sure they're gonna have it here again next year. I know they're having one in February, which
Yes.
I probably won't come back for that because that's too soon. It's the same thing. But if anything, I'll come back like next year when they have it again, and who knows, maybe you'll have it built.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe you come back and bring your own people, like have a retreat for them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, bring my own people. Yes. But without further ado, Julianne, thank you so much for being on the Hope Without Sight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, stay blessed, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. We hope you feel renewed, inspired, and encouraged, like you can just carry on and conquer the world.
Please hit the subscribe button on all platforms and tell your friends and family to do the same.
Blessings to all.